And the reading this morning is from Acts chapter 27. When the 14th night had come, as we were being driven across the Adriatic Sea about midnight, the sailors suspected they were nearing land. So they took a sounding and found 20 fathoms. A little farther on, they took a sounding again and found 15 fathoms. And fearing that we might run on the rocks, they let down 4 anchors from the stern and prayed for day to come. And as the sailors were seeking to escape from the ship and had lowered the ship's boat into the sea under the pretense of laying out anchors from the bow, Paul said to the centurion and the soldiers, "Unless these men stay in the ship, you cannot be saved." And the soldiers cut away the ropes and the ship's boat and let it go. As day was about to dawn, Paul urged them to all take some food, saying, "Today is the 14th day that you have continued in suspense and without food, having taken nothing. Therefore I urge you to take some food, for it will give you strength, for not a hair is to perish from the head of any of you." And when he had said these things, he took bread, and giving thanks to God in the presence of all, he broke it and began to eat. They were all encouraged and ate some food themselves. We were in all 276 persons on the ship. And when they had eaten enough, they lightened the ship, throwing out the wheat into the sea. Now, when it was day, they did not recognize the land, but they noticed a bay with a beach on which they planned, if possible, to run the ship ashore. So they cast off the anchors and left them in the sea, at the same time loosening the ropes that tied the rudders. Then hoisting the foresail to the wind, they made for the beach. But striking a reef, they ran the vessel aground. The bow was stuck and remained immovable, and the stern was being broken up by the surf. The soldiers' plan was to kill the prisoners, lest any should swim away and escape. But the centurion, wishing to save Paul, kept them from carrying out their plan. He ordered those who could swim to jump overboard first and make for the land, and the rest on planks or on pieces of the ship. And so it was that all were brought safely to land. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. And for our meditation today, Paul continues his mission of directing a safe shipwreck. When the sailors, sensing the approach of land and taking their sounding, realize a shipwreck is imminent, they prepare to escape the ship in a smaller boat. Paul discloses their plot to the soldiers, and the sailors are kept on board, and the ship's boat is cut and drifts away, and the ship draws closer to land. Before day dawned, when the ship would wreck, Paul urges the 276 passengers to eat. They'll need the strength given them by the food for the swim ahead. He assures them one more time that none of them will die. His trust in God's promise is unshakable. He takes bread and gives thanks to God before them all, and broke it and began to eat. Encouraged by his confidence, they follow his example, and when they'd eaten, they threw the rest of the wheat out into the sea to lighten the ship still more. Come what may, they knew their journey was near its end. Well, as the sun rose, they saw land before them in a bay. The sailors try to make for the bay, run into a reef, and the ship is stuck, just as Paul had foretold. The pound of the surf begins to break up the ship. Roman soldiers guarded their prisoners well, for they knew that their lives were forfeit should the prisoners escape. Think of the Philippian jailer's despair in Acts 16, when he thought that he had lost his prisoners. So for the Roman soldiers, the logical thing to do is to kill Paul and the other prisoners. But Julius, the centurion, will not hear of it. He wants to save Paul, a man whose peace and calm in this disaster had surely weighed on his own heart. He must have wondered time and again, what makes that man tick? What makes him so peaceful and calm? Rumor is that he's not even guilty of anything, yet he's a cheerful prisoner and lives as though he's the king of the world. What gives? So under Julius's direction, the prisoners are allowed to attempt the swim to shore. And Julius no doubt hoped fervently that Paul's prescience would come through for them one more time. Well, as God has promised, every one of the 276 passengers made it safely to land. You can imagine how, after catching their breath and feeling solid ground under their feet again, they must have gathered around that odd, wandering preacher to hear more about this God he worshiped and served.